Good morning, Baltimore. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Calvin Haynes, and we got a lot to talk about. So last time we talked, we were getting ready to go against the Denver Nuggets in our first official home game as a franchise. In that, I told you that there's a chance that this game would not be played because the stadium just was not done. In the game, it wasn't played. It was not played and actually got postponed to January 3rd of 2017. So this game that we all anticipated just didn't happen. But don't worry, we still have another game coming up very soon, our first official home game. They have guaranteed to us the stadium will be ready February 5th, and that's just 2 days from now. And then that game we're going against the New Orleans Pelicans. So be looking out for that. It's coming very, very soon. But we got a lot of things to talk about in this episode, guys. Our GM made some moves already. Early in his franchise's history, he's made some trades and signed some players. So let's talk about the trade first. We talked about how Shabazz Muhammad was shooting just 19% from the field through the first 3 games of the season, and it's very early. It's very early, so we can't say that he was going to have a terrible year, but the GM didn't like what he saw, and he traded him to Chicago for Denzel Valentine. Wow, right? That is a big trade because, in my opinion, Denzel Valentine, even though they are about the same age, Shabazz Muhammad's 23, Denzel Valentine is 22, I see Denzel Valentine having a far superior career than what Shabazz Muhammad was on the road to. And I think one of the main reasons for this trade is that our GM saw how good Norman Powell was. As I mentioned, he scored like 35 points in the last game coming off the bench. I figured that Norman Powell has earned himself a starting spot. And the guy that was shooting 19% on the season, well, he's out. He's out of town. He's going to Chicago. So I'm expecting it to be Jerian Grant at the point guard, Norman Powell at the shooting guard, Alan Crabb at the small forward, Andrew Nicholson at the power forward, and then Skal Labissiere. I feel like that's going to be our starting lineup against the New Orleans Pelicans in a couple days. Now, I could be wrong, but I figured this is the way it's going to go. And Denzel Valentine is going to slide very nicely into that backup small forward position where we really didn't have. Our backup small forward was George Niang, and even him, I know he is 23 years old, but I just don't know where his career is going to go. At least with Denzel Valentine, I have an idea of how good this guy could be. Now, along with making this trade, our GM actually went out to do some free agent signings. The first guy we added to the list was Nazr Muhammad. Like, why? Why are we adding Nazr Muhammad, you may ask? We'll talk about that in a second. But the second guy we added was Caron Butler. Both of these guys really old in age, Nazr Muhammad being 39 years old and Caron Butler being 36 years old. Now, before we made those additions to the team, the oldest guy we had on our team was Andrew Nicholson, and even him, he doesn't have much NBA experience. He spent a lot of time in Orlando, pretty much his entire career, which is about 4 years in Orlando, a team that just didn't really win in those years. So we added 2 guys, 2 basically locker room veterans to just help this team go through the process. Like, honestly, I don't see these guys getting a single minute this year. More just being on the team to help these young guys transition, a lot of them from college to the NBA, and from the guys that are already in the NBA to kind of help them get to the point where these 2 guys were. Caron Butler, former All-Star, former NBA champion. He actually wrote a book a little while ago that was really good and kind of showed us a different side of Caron Butler that a lot of people didn't know. So he's now on the team because he was looking for just 1 more year in the league. I'm thinking these 2 guys are going to retire after this year, but hopefully in this year they can teach our guys how to be professionals and how to transition into the NBA. Nazr Muhammad, a guy that we know mostly for the push on LeBron James back in the playoffs a couple years ago. But he has been pretty much throughout his entire career, or at least in the later half of his career, has been a kind of bench guy, a guy that comes off the bench, is just a locker room presence that kind of helps the team out that's in a way that's not on the court. And I like these 2 additions because of those reasons, how he can help these guys progress. Now on to the big story, guys. So we were the 31st team added to the NBA, the 31st team being the first team in expansion since the Charlotte Bobcats. Well, a 32nd team has been approved by the NBA. A team is coming back to Seattle, guys. And it is the Supersonics. The Supersonics are coming back. Fans are raving. This is something we've been wanting since they left for Oklahoma City. Now, this leaves us in a weird predicament. We, as the Baltimore Eagles, actually we kind of took their color scheme. And there has been a petition by the Seattle fans to get our colors changed. So once the Supersonics come back, they can be in their green and gold. So we're in a predicament, guys. As a team, we have to change the colors. And the owner of our Baltimore Eagles have left it up to the fans. The fans get to pick what colors are next. Granted, there is 5 choices, so you guys don't have the entire freedom to pick the colors, but there are 5 different choices. The first set of colors are orange and black. Pretty solid colors, and we're going to see the jerseys here. Very similar to what we have. Pretty much the jersey is going to stay the same. We're just changing the colors a little bit. Changing the colors of our logo too. So one option is the orange and black. Now the second option is very similar, but instead of black, there is more of a brownish. So there's an orange and brown that you guys can vote for. The third one is a maroon and orange color. The fourth one is a blue on blue and gray. And the last one is a maroon and gray design. Now, as fans of the Baltimore Eagles, you guys get to pick what colors the team runs with for pretty much the rest of its franchise. So in the description, you guys get to vote. And I'm very excited to see what the city picks. The Baltimore Eagles are already changing. We're 3 games into our franchise history and things are changing already. So that is the end of the show. If you did enjoy it, let me know in the comments below. Be sure to leave it a like. This has been your host, Calvin Haynes, signing out.